First, though, Drew's law becomes part of history in Illinois. Cameras were allowed in the courtroom today. Prosecutors argued hearsay should be allowed in Drew Peterson's murder trial. Dick Johnson has that story.
One of Drew Peterson's attorneys recorded the aftermath on his iPhone. Another bow to the new media of this historic day in an historic place. The original 1860 Illinois Supreme Courthouse, built directly across from the site of one of the Lincoln-Douglas debates.
You read paragraph G, game over.
And inside the ornate courtroom of what is now the 3rd District Court of Appeals, the first live television coverage of oral arguments of a murder case also making history, trying to allow 14 hearsay statements into the prosecution of Drew Peterson for the murder of his third wife, Kathleen Savio.
If Kathleen Savio was available to testify in this case, would any of this evidence come in? No.
Savio's sister witnessed the hour-long question-and-answer session. The admissibility of statements made to her are part of what's at stake.
I talked to her right before her death, and she said that she didn't want to leave. She didn't want to die. But she knew if something would happen, it would be an accident. It would be portrayed as an accident.
Other hearsay statements involve missing fourth wife, Stacy Peterson.
The hearsay, whether it stays or goes, it's, yeah, it'll be better for us, but if it's not there, then I still think we are going to have a good trial.
Drew Peterson, the focus of this entire legal exercise, was not required to be here. He's still behind bars awaiting trial. That, too, is a thorny issue.
You've got a guy sitting in a 4x8 room every day in complete isolation when he should be released.
The Peterson legal team's demands for a speedy trial may speed up the appellate court's decision. The justices said publicly they will rule with, quote, dispatch. A court spokesman says that on average means 3 months, but in this case, given its high-profile nature, could be much faster. In Ottawa, Dick Johnson, NBC 5 News.
And joining me now is legal expert Thomas Glasgow. He's been a Cook County State's attorney. He's now a defense attorney. So first of all, let's talk about this hearing and how critical this hearsay evidence is to the prosecution's case.
This hearsay evidence is absolutely critical to the prosecution's case because this is the crux of the prosecutor's case. This gives the motive, this gives the plan, this gives the intent for Drew Peterson to commit the crime that they're alleging that he committed, that he silenced another, he silenced Kathleen Savio, and hence the evidence is coming out with his missing wife to testify as to what was said to these other people is what the prosecutor wants to bring out in order to bolster their case to show that he's guilty of murder.
Now, the state's attorney, also Glasgow, no relation, actually was instrumental in getting Drew's law, as it's been called, passed, which would allow this hearsay evidence into his case. Will this appellate court decision affect the law and whether or not, what are they going for? They want the hearsay evidence in, but could it also affect whether or not the law is constitutional?
It could. James Glasgow, the state's attorney down in Will County, did write this particular statute and put it into effect. It was sponsored and then put to the legislature where it was commonly known as Drew's Law. The problem with this is that it seems to be tailored for, first of all, one person. And second of all, although it's been used in other prosecutions in DuPage County and has gone up on appeal in other cases, the problem with this is that it requires a judge to determine that a crime has been committed prior to the trial actually taking place. And therefore, if a defendant who has a right to a jury or a bench trial chooses then to have a bench trial, the judge has already made a determination in a pretrial hearing that a crime has already been committed. So there's some fundamental flaws in the way that this is put together. Yes, there are. Additionally, this is just yet another hearsay exception to the multitude of hearsay exceptions that we have in the state where we really haven't gotten it right in murder cases, and that's been shown time and time and time again and when you look at the debate on the death penalty.
Okay, so this is a very big deal, not just for Drew Peterson, but for the entire hearsay law. Drew's law, this law particularly, it could be thrown out, which could affect other cases?
It could. Essentially, it's forfeiture by wrongdoing. In other words, that you can't benefit from your own wrongdoing, which has been established as law for a long time. The problem is it right to have hearsay admissible in a murder case where it tends to show that a person has already committed a crime and shows that this person, and we're now using that evidence to say, okay, well, he
it's
committed
almost like
that crime.
you're guilty before
You're guilty before you're guilty.
Yeah,
exactly. And it creates
guilty.
problems, and there are jeopardy issues that really do attach to this. There's no way that the jury can't know that this finding's been made at some point.
Sure.
Judge White, who's now retired from the case, and we don't know who the new trial judge is in the case, made this determination. The appellate court could kick it back to the new judge, and the new judge could make an entirely new ruling as to, well, I think it all should be in now. Okay. And we don't know what they're going to say, which is maybe one of the reasons that the state did appeal in this matter.
Okay, well, we shall see. Now, the other quickly, let's talk about the cameras. Here we all said today, this is the first time it's ever happened, but it really hasn't. This has happened many times before. And do you believe that this could lead to more usage of cameras in the courtroom, or is it pretty prevalent?
Well, appellate courts and the Supreme Court do allow cameras, and you can go on the appellate court website or the Supreme Court website and view oral arguments in cases. They tend to be very dry because it's not a retrial. You're just talking about law.
Right.
However,
and it's not the big case.
Exactly.
So
and this is the first time that there's been a big case where there's actually been interest in people understanding, well, this is Drew Peterson. Let's watch this on television.
It seems like the first, but it's not. Good to know. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Well, coming up, anti-Semitic rhetoric.